Well, hello.
My old friend.
Still, bud.
Well, sometimes I hear you talking about you're not a music connoisseur, but
Right.
I think you're bullshitting me, man.
And how's that?
I remember us going to the mall, like one of the major malls in our region, like back in like 1988, 89. We were like 17, 18 years old, 16. We were like,
Excuse me.
and like Will Smith is in the news today, but like he was back then, he was doing some cool shit. I think maybe it was him. Maybe it was somebody. No, it was Houdini. It wasn't Will Smith. That was way before Will Smith. This was the Wild Wild West. But and I remember riding around with you, and you always talk shit about you're not a music connoisseur. But I remember Bob Seger. I remember you listening to Bob Seger a lot. But one of our friends listened to Bob Seger a lot too. She won't talk on the phone. She's an Indiana girl.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm not gonna mention her name.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I'm a connoisseur as far as, eclectic taste. I mean, I like Bob Seger. I like, because he's got that bluesy sound and stuff. And I guess, the biggest thing, when I say I'm not a connoisseur of it is, I don't get into, knowing, the band members and stuff. Like Van Halen, as popular as Van Halen is, the one person I know if somebody said would be, Eddie Van Halen. If you said another name in the band, I'd be like, well, I recognize the name, but I don't have a clue who the band member is. That's kind of what I mean.
Okay.
I just never got that deep.
Hold up, wait a minute. Okay, so
Yes.
like they've had two. I'm as wide a variety as you, but now maybe I've spent more time with music. But like you have, you worked for 20, 30 years inside of a paper mill and other kinds of mills and stuff. Maybe you didn't have some of the time that I had, but like, I had a couple extra years of fucking off time. Maybe that's what it was. But
you was also on the road a lot. You were driving a lot during all this time, so you had more time for like road radio type thing. So, anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That may be it. Well, no, I'm just trying to figure it out because I know that every time I mention something to you, you already know it. So you're you're music eclectic and don't even know it. Is what I'm saying. Because
and that could be.
Yeah, and it is. And like some jazz stuff I've thrown out there. I don't know who did that, but I have heard the team because you've experimented with a wide variety of music sources. I know you have.
Oh,
because you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Van Halen came in two phases. The first phase was I call it Van Roth, and then the second one I call Van. Oh my God, what's that dude's name? What was the second singer of Van Halen's name?
David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen. I mean, that's I only remember David Lee Roth because you said it.
This is a test. This is a test.
Well, I'm going to say it.
I know you know that next guy's name because he's the one who did 1986 album with Van Halen. He's the one who did "Ain't No Way I'm Sitting Home Tonight."
I know who you're talking about. Oh,
Sammy
Hagar.
Sammy Hagar.
Yeah. I know who that is, but just that connection to Van Halen, I guess I never paid attention to those things.
I call it two things. Van Roth, Van Hagar. It's, because it's like
I got you.
That, without Eddie, it's just another cover band. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I guess technically you're right.
It is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That guy there, he was the guy. But not only that, there was a time whenever we all got into in rap music, and I still listen to a little bit of, I don't know what it's called now. It's not really called rap, but it's called like
well, it's a hip hop. I think almost all of it now. But I mean, I think they've got some other names for the different types of it. But
that's right.
I think rap is just kind of a generic term now.
Well, everybody does it. That there was like recently back in the early part of this year that they teased it on TikTok for months. It was like Morgan Wallen, the country guy, doing a song with Lil Durk, and it was like this song that was like teased everywhere. It was a huge like if you have a a car stereo in your vehicle that you can listen to it, turn up loud. And I know me and you both have Chevrolets and Toyotas, so we have good stereo systems because those vehicles come with it. So I know you can jam with some music in that thing you got down there, can't you? Because like one thing I've always talked about with us is that we have those 4-wheel drive trucks, and of course.
Yeah.
I tease it because, like, everybody, it's kind of makes fun of people with a southern accent. I guess you got a 4-wheel drive, don't you? Well, yes. Actually, I do. Yes. And because it's smart. And, like, those aren't cheap trucks. Those are very nice trucks compared to where you and I started out. You and I were having a conversation about trucks this morning. It's like my first truck was a small truck, and I had it about a month and burned the engine out. You and I changed the motor out in it. If you can believe that about us, it was just hard to believe that you and I even did that. That was a whole other period of our life, And then all of your trucks, and you had a truck one time. We all had those trucks. My truck was lowered down, and we had it, bondoed up in the right places and painted in the right places. But you had a truck that was really deviated from what you and I usually buy. I always talk about me either buying it's a General Motors, Chevrolet, type product, or it's a Toyota for me. And I bought a bunch of them because I travel lots of miles. But now you deviated one time and got this truck that was absolutely beautiful. And just tell me about that truck for a minute.
Well, yeah, I mean, what it was just a couple. Going back to a couple of things you mentioned, as far as the folks when they hear a southern accent and they, I bet you got a 4-wheel drive and think we sound like Mater all the time, even though Mater don't even sound like Mater. And we have sensible 4-wheel drives. I mean, 4-wheel driving is because we do get off road. I was raised on a farm, so like you mentioned, changing the engine stuff. Well, I mean, I had to replace the engines and transmissions and other vehicles. You needed help, and I was like, well, I've done it before, man. We can do it together, and we figured it out. I mean, so we've got the advantage of, we ain't got the big jacked up what they see, the redneck sitting in it yelling obscenities out the window going, the South will rise again. That's what these people are typing us as due to the accent. Whereas, most of them, we know we're fairly intelligent, to a reasonable degree. So. But neither here nor there. The trucks you're referring to, I mean, you're right. I've always pretty much been a General Motors person. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's one of them subconscious. Well, that's what my daddy drove. But. The deviation was it was the first time I actually purchased a vehicle. I mean, we discussed that I had some that I had got handed to me, hand-me-downs, or I borrowed for a little while back and forth. But the first one I paid for fully, it was a 77 F100 Ranger, the full-size F100 Ranger. And it was, gray and red. And it was just a really clean truck, for that body year. That body style was just a really clean thing. And when I first saw it, it had like some aluminum rims and some, mud-type tires on it. But it wasn't 4-wheel drive. It was a 2-wheel drive. And the guy that owned it had put a Mustang engine in it. He'd put a 4-bolt main 302 Boss engine in it. And it had like a high-rise 4-barrel carb, and So I mean, it was cool that it had all that, even though it drank gas, and come on, in a big old truck like that, it wasn't just for all that, but it sounded really, really good. It had it had a pair of Holly 4 barrels on it, and so it was chromed out, and it was really nice. And, I took care of it. I ended up being, one of the first ones in our town to, everybody was, putting the 10-inch wide chrome rims on the back and a little narrow 6-inch wide or something on the front. And I didn't like that. That reminded me too much of drag racing stuff. And, I got 10-inch rims all the way around my truck, but now, we're talking back, that was, 89, 88.
88
something like that. Yeah, it was right in that area. Yeah, so I mean, So anyway, yeah, I did that. And it was a sweet rig. And, I put me a big stereo system in it. Big Rockford Fosgates with a couple of Hyphonic Cyclops amps in it. And some tweeters, and boy, it was all tricked out. I worked my butt off with that plywood. It was funny, but I was single then. Just kind of dating and enjoying my youth, as we say. And you know what some of them things was going on during our junior and senior year we can't talk about. So yeah, I was enjoying all that.
I'm not going to go into. I don't want to go into any kind of detail, but I remember when you pull up in my driveway like 2:30 in the morning, like the night before we graduated high school. You remember that?
Yes, I do. Well,
let me tell it because
no names. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me tell it.
Well, let me tell the part until it gets to your house. I'll tell the part leading to your house, and then you tell it from there. The start of it was I had come home, and I had been out with a friend, and we had just been and I had come home, and then about 3 o'clock in the morning, or 2 o'clock, about 2 o'clock, her and another friend had come, and they were tapping on my window. And, of course, I was like, what the hell? And I get up, and this is them. Well, I'm wigging out. Here's girls outside my window. And it's the woman I was hanging out with earlier and a friend. And she wanted to know, well, we can't sleep, and we want to go hang out. You got anybody to go hang out with? And I said, I know just the person. Anyway, so I ended up at this person's house. Now then, you may continue from there. However you want to paint this picture, you've got the paintbrush.
Well, see, and then I'm going to keep it as clean as you did because, like, all I heard was I had been out partying hard. I mean, Jim Belushi type hard. Okay.
Yeah. Animal house.
I just without the cocaine. So I was laying in bed and I was like, I hadn't even went to sleep yet. I just fucking got home. Back then we didn't have cell phones, no text messages, nothing. So whatever lined up. So I was lying down. I just lay down. The world was spinning. I was like, oh, shit. Finally some fucking sleep. We're about to get out of this fucking high school shit tomorrow. And then all of a sudden I heard ding, 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 ding on my window. Of course, that's how we communicated back then. We didn't have text messaging. We just hid down the road, turned off the lights, ran up there, knocked on the window, and got somebody.
Yeah, you couldn't dial the phone and break the whole house. You had to physically Google, please don't get shot while trying to wake this fella up.
Yeah. And some friends even had party lines, so it called the whole fucking neighborhood, So,
oh, I know it, right?
So you just had to, like, tap on the window. And you wouldn't believe the stuff that went on outside my window, but that night I looked out and I was like, holy shit, there's Donald. And Donald always has a party right then because you're loving life. I would never will forget the looks on your face, and we all of us other friends talk about it, like that look on Donald's face when he was 17 or 18. It was
yeah, I was always a little off. Cuba, all right.
Well, it was a very fun time. Not everybody can look back on those times and feel it's fun, but back in the 80s, it was great. Okay, so like anyway, I looked up and I saw that look on your face, and I smelled Marlboros, and I was like, and probably alcohol. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, right.
I saw girls. I saw the top of their heads, and I thought, he's like, let's go, man. And I don't even know where we went to, but the next thing I knew, we were in some woods. And had some chicks there, and we were talking, and it seemed like I don't think there was a fire going, but it seemed like there was light somewhere.
No,
I don't even know.
No, it was the moon. It was the moon. It was just the full moon. That's all it was. The bright moon. It was a really bright moon. I know exactly where it was at, a dirt crossroads, just out in the middle of the dirt crossroads, so we could see in all four directions. And it was just a really, really bright moon, and you and the friend was on one side, me and my friend was on the other. We were just all kind of talking back and forth. Now you continue painting the story.
Anyway, so it was pretty cool.
Because I know what happened next, but
I don't really remember it. I really don't. I know that like later on, like I was like time passed on and stuff happened, and there was feels. And
would you like to give me a tiny hint?
What?
Well, I said, would you like me to give you a tiny hint of what went on?
No, I don't want any hint. Okay, but I know later, me and you had a discussion. I never forget it. It was like, oh, my God, what did we just agree to them doing? And don't talk about what it was. Because it would have been just the most amazing. It would have been the scariest thing ever, but the weirdest. They weren't even brave enough to do it. I was kind of disappointed, actually. But anyway, so like that's being young, and I have a kid right now that's graduating high school. So so it's I'm also seeing that from another level of magnification that we were talking about earlier, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that was such a reckless time. I mean, if you can live past 21, that's what they say. If you live past 21, you've done well. But hey, I guarantee you, the night before our graduation, we had one of the most memorable nights ever in that Ford pickup you were talking about there. That's the most memorable story ever I can tell you about it, because I know we'll forget that ride there, the ride home. I remember all of it. I'm not going to admit to remembering a lot of it, but that was doesn't make a shit whatever. That was a very fun night before you graduate high school night. You hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, without any hints or anything, I do, the next day, I remember he was like, contacting me, he was like, so, did you show up at my house last night? And I said, yeah. And he went, I thought that was a dream. And we kind of proceeded to talk.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, I said, why'd you let me do that?
I expected you to, even though you were like 8 months younger than me, I expected you to be a leader because, one, you got us to a great parking spot. I think it was Rooster's Cut, too. There was dry roads. That was a great place. And
I laughed so hard at you.
Do you remember us talking about plausible deniability lately? That's what the fuck I was standing up there. That's all that was, Donald.
Well, I didn't say you did anything. I mean, it might have just been you kissed her.
Well, I'm just saying that whatever it was, I'm just trying to say whatever it was, I didn't know because, one, that's one of those rare times where I can say that I was kind of dragged into it.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I told you when you said, why you let me do that? I said, I wasn't going down by myself.
Because you were dragged into it, too.
I was absolutely drunk into it. Because, it's like, come on, I've got 2-3 girls outside my window. The penthouse letter version is, I went to a girl's house. I got 2 chicks going, hey, you got a friend?
Yeah.
Do you think I'm going to pass that up?
That's a perfect dream. I can't tell you what kind of a great fucking story that. I can't even tell it most of the time because I'm like, people don't believe me. Like, that's not fucking true, dude. I'm like, yeah. I mean,
it is.
I mean, showed up at 2:30 with chicks the night before we graduated.
I know, man. It was and then you were like, well, it was pretty much fun.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
But for a minute, you was like, why'd you let me do that? That's what I said. Well,
yeah.
I drug you into it as well. So, yeah, don't feel bad about it.
I mean, I've never confronted you angrily, ever.
No, I know.
Oh, man, why did you do that, man? But I never
but
you're mean, Donald.
Well, we've always been such close friends as far as, I remember, I couldn't even drive yet. I think I was 15 and was on a vacation, and I come home, and while I was gone, that same truck we put the engine in, you had it appendicitis in the hospital, and you was like, you were so bored, you asked your mom, said, would you let me bring you, ask my mate about driving your truck to come up there and bring you something? You know?
Yeah.
And I said, sure, man, I did.
We drink beer.
Six of them.
For your 16th birthday, we drink beer in my hospital room. Think about that. I just got out of surgery. I'm drinking beer with my bud on his 16th birthday. But I live. I'm 50-something now, so there you go.
Yeah. Well, you know, hey, at least you wasn't still bleeding or nothing. You know, it was light beer, you know.
It was 2 weeks after. Back then, with that surgery, it was a very light surgery, by the way.
Well, it was. But it was a little more invasive. But, yeah, you're right. It was towards the end. So there was no worry about bleeding out from thinning of the blood from alcohol. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know,
all it was him being lazy in the bed and bored because he wouldn't let you go home in that time. Now it's almost outpatient. So, you know.
Oh, it is outpatient. You go and you have an appendectomy now. I'll say it. You know, it's outpatient. You go in there and they do it, and you go home with a laser. You know, whatever. You know, so it's a totally different world. But back then, I don't mind it though. I read all kinds of books and stuff and hung out with my buddies, and so it's like the best. But anyway, this conversation's been the best too, man. We might have to explore something here a little bit, but man, those trucks. You tell me, what kind of stories do we not have with trucks? I guess that's really kind of the question. You know,
in our area of the country, you know, the trucks are just the way it was for just us. Girls mostly had cars. Some guys had cars. You know, because I mean, you had truck up until you got graduated and responsible, and it made more sense to drive a car. Then you became a little bitch, you know. There is not many stories that we have not had adventures in trucks. You know? Yeah. Several of them in the back of them thinking we better slow down, and it's already too late by the time we're saying it.
Hey, man.
We used to ride in the back of trucks. That's crazy, you know.
All the time. Yeah. Like in the middle of the night. I mean, I'm going to just say this. In the back of a pickup truck, Thanksgiving. Think about that day.
I know exactly what you're saying. It was cold. God, it was cold.
It was cold.
It was.
And we traveled miles. I'm not talking about like we drove like 2 blocks over. I mean, we drove, you know.
Miles.
You know, this with global warming or whatever the fuck's going on, it's like 70 degrees on Thanksgiving now, but back then it was like 20, 30 degrees around here.
Yeah, we all wanted to go down to the mouth of the creek and do a fire, do some drinking, and there wasn't enough room for all 4 of us in the vehicle, so 2 of us was in the back with our heads shoved under the toolbox to shield us from as much air as we could while we drove. I think it was about 17 miles. In 20-degree weather, going, who knows how freaking fast was that man driving?
Dude, you failed to mention those 17 miles was on dirt road, and it was not a straight dirt road. It was like 4 ways, and it was muddy. I mean, it wasn't like just like easy ride. It took like 4 hours. It
was logging dirt roads. Gravel logging roads. Hey, brother, I got to get, man.
Hey, man, that was good. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you later. Bye.